From the formation of the company that became Mazda, to the unanimous election of George Washington as the first president, to the deadliest blizzard in recorded history, here are just some of the things that occurred during this week in history, the 5th week of 2023, from January 29th through February 4th. Welcome to Unexpected History. January 29th is the 178th anniversary of the first publishing of the Edgar Allan Poe narrative poem, The Raven, in the New York nightly newspaper, The Evening Mirror. Charles Curtis became the first United States Senator of Native American descent 116 years ago on January 29, 1907. Curtis would later go on to become the nation's first Native American vice president as part of the Calvin Coolidge administration. 14 years ago, on January 29, 2009, Illinois Governor Rod Blagojevich was impeached and removed from office after being convicted of several charges of corruption stemming from his attempts to curry personal favors for his appointment to replace former Illinois Senator Barack Obama after the latter's election to the presidency. Blagojevich was convicted on 10 counts of wire fraud, 3 counts of bribery, 4 counts of extortion, and 1 count of making false statements. 103 years ago, on January 30th, 1920, the Toyo Cork Kogyo Company was founded in Hiroshima, Japan. What makes that of historical importance, you ask? Well, 11 years later, the company became Mazda. Yes, that Mazda. January 30th is the 78th anniversary of the sinking of the Wilhelm Gustloff, after it was struck by 3 torpedoes fired by the Soviet submarine S-13. Of the estimated 10,500 passengers and crew on board at the time, nearly all the passengers were civilians, by the way, between 9,400 to 9,500 died in the sinking. The Beatles gave their last public performance as a band 54 years ago on January 30th, 1969, when they gave an impromptu performance from the roof of Apple Records in London, England. Unfortunately for those that witnessed the concert, the police came along and broke it up after about 42 minutes. Alvin Graham Clark made the first documented observation of a white dwarf 161 years ago, on January 31st, 1862, when he spotted Sirius B as he was testing a new telescope, the largest telescope in the United States at the time. That telescope is still in use today at the Dearborn Observatory in Evanston, Illinois. The 13th Amendment to the United States Constitution, which abolished slavery, was passed by Congress on January 31st, 1865, 158 years ago. The amendment was then sent to the states for ratification and became constitutional law in December of that same year. January 31st marks the 35th anniversary of Doug Williams becoming the first African-American quarterback to play in a Super Bowl and go on to lead the then Washington Redskins to a 42-10 victory over the Denver Broncos in Super Bowl 22. A prototype of the MiG-17 first took to the skies 73 years ago on February 1st, 1950. Originally designed to intercept and destroy bombers, the MiG-17 proved itself a surprisingly effective dogfighter against the faster but far less maneuverable American fighters in the skies over Vietnam. MiG-17s are still in military use today in North Korea. It was 25 years ago, on February 1st, 1998, that Lillian Fishburne became the first African-American woman to attain the rank of Rear Admiral in the United States Navy. February 1st marks the 20th anniversary of the destruction of the Space Shuttle Columbia, when she disintegrated during re-entry after suffering damage to her thermal protection tiles during the orbiter's launch. All 7 astronauts were lost. Major League Baseball's National League was formed 147 years ago, on February 2nd, 1876. 14 years later, on February 2nd, 1900, St. Louis, Milwaukee, Boston, Chicago, Detroit, and Baltimore all agree to form Major League Baseball's American League, although the league itself doesn't start play until 1901. 98 years ago, on February 2nd, 1925, dog sleds carrying diphtheria antitoxin reached Nome, Alaska, thereby saving the small town and the surrounding areas from a burgeoning diphtheria epidemic. 20 mushers, with their teams, a total of about 150 dogs, raced across 674 miles of Alaska's frozen tundra in an astonishing 5.5 days during one of the worst winters in memory. The Great Race of Mercy, as it's now known, is the inspiration for today's Iditarod race. The 15th Amendment to the United States Constitution, which guaranteed the right to vote for all male citizens regardless of race, was ratified 153 years ago on February 3, 1870. 1,000 B-17 Flying Fortress bombers struck Berlin, Germany as part of Operation Thunderclap 78 years ago on February 3, 1945. The bombing claimed between 2,500 to 3,000 lives and left 120,000 more people homeless. February 3rd is the 51st anniversary of the start of the 1972 Iran blizzard, a series of storms over 7 days that dumped nearly 10 feet of snow across Iran, completely buried several villages, and killed over 4,000 people. It has since become known as the deadliest blizzard in history, a title it still holds today. It was 234 years ago, on February 4th, 1789, that George Washington was unanimously elected the first president of the United States by the Electoral College. Over 22,000 people lost their lives in Guatemala and Honduras when a 7.5 magnitude earthquake struck near the Guatemalan town of Los Atames 47 years ago on February 4th, 1976. February 4th marks the 19th anniversary of the founding of the social media giant, Facebook. As always, thank you to Katrina, Sue, and Jack for their continuing support of the channel. Click on the link tree in the video description if you too would like to help out. Liking and commenting, however, are the best ways you can help get the channel be seen by more viewers. I'd also like to remind you that I have a second channel that will deal with all things crime related. I'd sure appreciate it if you'd subscribe to True Crime Portal if you like true crime videos. We're hard at work on creating videos for the channel, but at the moment it's a little light on content. I am, however, deep into scripting a video about the boy in the box, who was identified just a couple of months ago through his DNA, although his murder is yet to be solved. Anyway, that's all I have for today, so until the next time, I hope your days are pleasantly unexpected.